What up? 1 2 1 2. This is Ibn Web Quran Assam here. Just wanted to jump on again with this whole official things. Essex County edition / immaculate here. This actually I'm really excited about this one. Excited about all of them, but this one here is actually one of my coaches from Immaculate. Another one, Coach Ryan. Actually, unique style of coaching, great style of coaching. Kept things ABC. Sometimes we get all complicated with everything with, X's and O's. He just kept things very straightforward. And man, we'd have literally ran through a wall for him if we had to, as far as his playing. He was assistant varsity coach. Obviously, done some other things as far as at the collegiate level. He's back at the high school level as far as right now, as far as coaching. But like I said, it was just great. Like I said, anybody that probably coached for him probably had nothing but good things, and just be like, man, like he was something else. So he just had that aura about him, like as far as just, pretty much getting his kids, players to do pretty much anything for him, as far as just that thrill to compete, wanting to win defensively, just slapping the floor on defense, everything. A step slide, everything, to the conversations we've had and everything else here. So I'm excited. So I'm looking forward to it. So I'm just waiting for him to jump on and we'll get to it. Hey.
Here we go, Ed. Look at me.
I know you got this thing going here, huh?
Listen, I teach like 30 hours of this crap a week. Just what I want to do on a Sunday.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, though. I appreciate it.
I'm used to it by now. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got back from the beach. My wife's down there.
Okay.
She just got her, I think I told you last year, she was really sick. And so she's been waiting for the vaccine. So she just got dose 1.
Okay.
So she's been living, we have a tiny little place down on the coast, and she's been living there, a lot for the last, 9 or 10 months. So good seeing her on the weekend.
Yeah, how's she feeling? I mean, I know sometimes with those doses, it's like a little drag effect afterwards. Some people's been telling me.
The first one kicked her tail. Yeah.
Okay.
I got our school, being a nice Catholic school, they arranged to have it done on campus.
Okay.
So, mine wasn't bad, but hers, she's got all sorts of immuno issues, and so it knocked her out for about a day, but it's worth it, man.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like I said, I'm glad, she's coming around, and hopefully everybody else is well on your end as well, too.
Yep.
Good. Like I said, I know this education world had you on these Zooms and go to meetings and, wherever else you want to talk about, go to meeting and, my team, whatever, or somebody making up one right now too as we speak. So I appreciate you again, like you mentioned on the Sunday here, and actually we don't lost the hours, so I know how that's that little adjustment as well too. So,
I know.
Yeah. So again, like I said, I appreciate it. I know when I sent over a lot of t-shirts to you, it's just something I just been doing as far as first it was just with family or what have you. Now it's just like, let me just have reach out to some other people, just kind of my little network of mine here. And as far as just, just my appreciation, just wanting to have some convo, go down memory lane a little bit here and get a little dose of nostalgia and, kind of just do it that way here. And I got a nice long wish list. So far everybody's been pretty cool as far as just like, everybody, I'll jump on, not a problem here. So far I haven't got too many no's if at all. But so like I said, It's been pretty cool. And I know this pandemic is kind of, gotten people like, just, virtual fatigued out. So I'm mindful of that as well too. But I know, and especially with, the term, I think as a nation, we're trying to make it. I know folks, especially today, I can only imagine with the weather. I'm probably jealous. What's the weather out there right now?
I hate to tell you, I was sitting on the beach 3 hours, but it was 71 degrees.
Yeah. So I'm a little jealous. Yeah. So I know that. I know that turn. I mean, folks is like, I'm getting the hell out the house. I'll sit on the beach with a mask. I'll sit 10 feet away from somebody, but I'm
Oh,
getting the
yeah.
hell out of the house. But you was on my wish list, Coach Ryan, and I think, like I said, just one of those things here, man. Just to, like I said, just have some conversation and what have you here. So I appreciate you taking time out, and I can actually see the sun, in the background coming out the windows here. So this damn even got me on this call, and I should still be out. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it. How's your season been?
Well, basketball, I coach basketball and lacrosse. So basketball down here, they truncated it, as we English teachers like to say. They made it very, very short. We only played 12 regular season games instead of 24. And the entire season was 6 weeks. So we usually take a trip over Christmas. We've gone to Atlanta. We actually went up to New York probably 7 or 8 years ago to play over at Xavier High School in the city. And we couldn't do that this year. So I was a little upset because my seniors didn't get that chance. But, we played the youngest team I've ever coached. So it was a lot of fun. I had 7 sophomores and then 2 juniors and just a handful of seniors. But then the lacrosse is the state tournament begins tomorrow. Like everything is just so much quicker. So we'll be done in 2 weeks. And this is the first spring I've had off since I got back into high school coaching. So I'll be done by Easter, by Christmas break or Easter break. So my wife is very happy because normally we lose midwinter break and spring break, all this crap. So she's fired up this year.
Nah, good stuff. And it's kind of like, a nice little, I owe you wife kind of thing here. We spend some time together and do some things. You can't go wrong with pleasing the wives here. So you can't go wrong.
Yeah, she told me to say hello when I left her today. She remembers you last year. That great night that we went out with the team. That was memorable. And she really liked meeting you guys. And because I keep my past under wraps, as you know it. So it's so funny for her to get a glimpse into what it used to be like, because we didn't meet till I was in Chapel Hill coaching. That's where we met. So she didn't know anything about Jersey or anything. So she gets a kick out of when we go back up there to see my family and see some old friends. But she was thrilled to meet you guys.
Nah, that's good stuff. Yeah, they really can't really Google you too much back in the 90s and 80s here.
Huh? Yeah, exactly. Thank goodness.
Nah, good stuff here. But I'm gonna take you down memory lane a little bit here, though. Actually, where are you from in New Jersey? Like, where are you actually from?
Well, I was born in Newark. And then we moved to Belleville. When I went to Essex Catholic, we were living in Belleville, right on the North Newark border, like a block in. But that's when Essex was on Broadway. So right off downtown. So my parents lived there, and then after I left, they moved up to Nutley. So they crept away from Newark slowly. But when I was at Essex, North Newark was just a beautiful area of town. And, I still look back, I still have close friends of mine who I went to Essex with.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know. So Essex used to be on Broadway.
Yeah. And I know you're going to find this hard to believe. There were 1,000, it was all boys. There were 1,000 boys in my graduating class. I went out for freshman basketball. There were 375 kids came out for freshman.
Wow.
It was a giant diocesan school. And there was another school in Newark called St. Benedict's, which actually went out of business for a couple of years. And then it came back. That was down right off Central Ave. So, but that was a tiny little parish school. Essex there were 4,000. When I was a freshman, there were 4,000 boys there. So it was insane. It was like going to, it was like almost college. So
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a great time though.
That's crazy. Now with sports, when did your love for sports, when did that just kick in as a kid?
I played everything.
Okay.
But when I got to Essex, I played a little of the other sports, but I loved basketball. But my problem was, we were ginormous. We were the small. I was the smallest guy on the team.
Hmm.
So as I tell anybody who listen, I was the 10th guy in a rock solid 7-man rotation. So I played a lot only because we won parochial A state champions both my junior and senior year.
Hmm.
In fact, my senior year, we were 27-1. So I played a lot, but certainly not in the beef of the games at all.
Yeah.
But I just loved it. But because Essex was so competitive, it was almost a precursor to these kids today who just focus on a sport all year long. I wasn't good enough to dabble like in baseball or something else, or somebody like you, for goodness gracious. I wasn't that good in basketball that I could take a couple months off. So, but it was, I still remember our coach, right? A guy named Brother McNamara, and then Mike Shannon from East Orange was an assistant coach. But yeah, it was a wonderful experience. Again, I never started. I don't even think we had senior night back then. Parents would be outraged this year if we didn't have a senior night, but I loved it. And that's when my love of basketball was really formed, because we had a great team, but our coach, who was a Christian brother, right, which is even a priest who teaches, he was just a brilliant guy, and he made us play. Like there was no rolling the basketballs out. And we had Ron Cowan, who went to Villanova, who was 6'11". We had Dave Brown, who went to Iona and played for Jim Valvano. Cliff Anderson, who went to St. Peter's. I mean, we had 5 college basketball players. So it wasn't even like I could win and talk to the coach about playing time. I didn't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, no, wow, that's interesting. Like I said, even your playing experience and just even Essex Catholic, like I thought it was always over there in East Orange.
Right, we
So
played
just now.
them. Right, we played them when we were at. I wasn't the head coach. We played them when we were at when we were at Immaculate. And you're right, it was a tiny school compared to it then. Yeah, but the problem was it was in an old life insurance building on Broadway that was 7 stories high.
Okay.
So when you have 4,000 students, you need that much room. But then, as time went by and the enrollment dropped, I guess they couldn't afford the lease or something. That's why they moved up to East Orange.
Okay. Now you do the basketball thing. Do you go to college? Where did you go to college at?
I went to it was pretty crazy. I went to a junior college in California, Santa Rosa Junior College, and then I came back and I went to Montclair State. That's where I finished up. So I ripped up my knee for the first time right out of high school. So I was the least athletic player on the team when I had a healthy knee. So back then, and it wasn't, back then, if you had ACL, you were gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like a cast from your toe to your thigh for 6 or 8 weeks. So that was close to a career ender. So that's when I sort of said, all right, I'm going to focus on this coaching thing.
So you out in California. I mean, it's kind of hard to come back to New Jersey being out in California.
It was strange. It was Santa Rosa is in northern California, north of San Francisco. It's pretty far up there. And this was so long ago, if I took a Greyhound from Port Authority to San Francisco. Can you imagine? Like an 18-year-old kid getting on a Greyhound bus and 4.5 days. But it was a blast. I really enjoyed it. But my family was back in Jersey, and I knew I wanted to finish up school here. So that's what I did. And I loved Montclair, great school.
Yeah. Yeah, so you did. So you do Montclair State. Then right after you get done, you get into coaching.
Yeah, pretty close, pretty close. I met Mike Fess, right, through a mutual acquaintance, and he was an assistant at that time
Okay.
for a guy named Johnny Lee, who used to be the head coach. And so I met him, and that's when they hired me at first to coach the freshmen. And that was one of the biggest breaks of my life, meeting, I had met Patty Dyer, and I had known John Finnegan a little bit, but, working with those guys was just a tremendous experience. Coach Finn was an assistant. Like Coach Rassiopi was the head football coach. So we just, there's nothing I've ever experienced like Immaculate. Obviously, going to Essex, there are kids I spent 4 years with who I wouldn't recognize.
Right.
There were just too many kids. But I always thought there was something to be said for, for a small school like Immaculate, that there was just a spirit there. And I remember going to Patty Dyer's office down in that basement. I think the first time I spoke to him about coaching, and there was probably 3 inches of water on the floor, on the cement floor of his office. But I was fortunate enough to get that job. And like I said, I look back on those years as really the fondest of my coaching career. I learned so much through adversity, right? I mean, there's nothing like adversity. It's the best teacher in the world.
Absolutely. So you get the freshman job.
Yeah.
So what you got you just rolling the ball out, telling them to do whatever, or you going in there like you had this mapped out, you had this plan, structure, how you going to deal with these freshmen? Like I don't know if it's a Chinese fire drill or what.
You can imagine, I was pretty lasered in at that point. But at a school like Immaculate, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think when I was coaching the freshman team, there might only have been 70 boys in the whole school.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, to have a freshman, a JV, and a varsity team is almost unheard of. That's like half of the male population.
Yeah.
So, but I do remember there was probably one season I did it when we had 5 guys. And at one point, somebody got hurt. And we would literally, Mr. Dyer, who was our track coach, would grab a guy and literally put him on the bus with me. So we played 5 guys almost the whole season. And I remember one of my favorite guys, a guy named Tyrone Mason, who was a tremendous football player, right?
Right.
He played basketball for me. And he was just as you can imagine. He was a freaking bull in a china shop, but he didn't care. Like he had such heart and had such spirit. And he would literally be out there. He'd have to play the whole game because we had 5 guys. And at home, that's not that bad with that, little rectangle of a court. But, when you're going up to Mountain Lakes or Mendon, when they're playing on an 85-foot court, that's a lot of real estate for 5 guys. You learn how to use your timeouts very effectively.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you get the fresh. So when you move up to JV and like assistant varsity coach.
Yeah, I did a couple years on the freshman, and then Mike, I moved up to the JV, and that was the most fun. I was talking to my wife about you guys like last year and I was trying to explain what it was like. I never, when it was you and Auckland, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Brian Mooney, and of course Jason. There's never been a team I've coached at any level, right, from Division I down to the freshman Immaculate, where I connected and I felt like there was a team of guys who understood exactly how I wanted the game to be played. If you listen to great coaches, I've always thought Larry Brown is one of the greatest coaches in the history of basketball. And that's what he says. He says, I have a vision of how the game should be played. And I can't really put it in a book or I can't put X and O's, but you recognize it when you see it. I still remember you guys. And I'm not just saying that. Obviously, you know, we've spoken about this, where I've never had an experience like that, where every guy understood exactly what I wanted done and how to do it, and you guys did it, and that was fun. You know, when we would get on a roll, it was impossible to beat us at home. You know, there's no doubt about it. We were a tough out, and you know, you guys, and again, you know, the idea that you wouldn't start playing basketball till the day after Thanksgiving.
Right. Right.
You know, when after football. So you know, it's like that was an even bigger miracle. You know, that's unheard of today. Like two multi-sport athletes, even though college coaches, you know, college football coaches in particular, come in all the time. I remember when I was at Middle Tennessee, they always said, we look for kids who play basketball, you know, and so that we can see them in a different venue. And I always think back to Immaculate, how a bunch of kids played every sport, like baseball in the spring. And it just, I think it keeps you fresh as an athlete. And I always encourage kids down here. But yeah, that was fun. And then, you know, working with Coach Fest was a blast too. I got a little choked up watching, thanks for sending me the thing about Latish. I got choked up. I remember the first time Mike Fest told me about Latish. Okay. And I knew that he had been at two other high schools, but when you were talking to him last week, I remember that one of them was down in Newark, and I remember the first time I saw him play. You know, some guys just look like ballers, you know, and that was him. And when I was listening, you did a great job interviewing him, because I was listening to him and said, if you really listen to his story, it's almost impossible to believe. Like, he picked up track. What did he drop that in there? He said, yeah, then I got hurt. And then he's winning like state titles. I remember Patty Dyer talking about that. This kid is an unbelievable athlete. Like, if he were today, like he'd be in Sports Illustrated.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't pick even football, you know, I mean, and he was a really good basketball player. He came down when I used to work at a camp down in Charlotte, Prep Stars camp. And he came down with Lee Mullins, and he could play, and he could play either guard spot. And, you know, and then, I'm going to dabble in football a little bit. What? And he's, you know, he ends up playing, you know, at Division 1A, and then the track thing, you know, I mean, and that's hard to do. You know, running track isn't just running around the track once. I mean, he really was. I got such a kick out of that interview, because it brought like this flood of memories back, and what a great kid he was, man.
Yeah, nah, I had another one here. He had I didn't send it to you. Rich Kana. He told me about playing. He talked about, I mean, I talked about the story when you ran into him, but he talked about playing for you on that, I don't know if it's a freshman JV team. Yeah. You guys with him, Lance, I think it was Fred and those guys. And he just talked about, you know, you guys probably lost one game, if not none. I don't remember. Yes. Yeah, he talked about that.
We beat St. Anthony's, Fred. We drilled them. St. Anthony's came in to 55 Cottage Place and we drilled them. And Fred, the Goose, I used to call him, goodness gracious, and Lance Boston, what, you know, it's so funny. Like, when I was at Middle Tennessee State, I ran into his dad, McKinley Boston. He was the AD at Minnesota, and our athletic director at Middle was on the selection committee with him. And if they're shooting the crap all of a sudden, and Lee, our AD at Middle, starts talking about me, and McKinley says, what? He's not a Jersey kid. So it was fascinating. But Richie Kana, I just got a text from him a couple of weeks ago. We're in Atlanta, 2 years ago playing in a Christmas tournament at a Catholic high school, and I'm coaching, as usual, in my style. And all of a sudden after the game, a guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, you're Coach Ryan, right?" And if I didn't recognize it, it was freaking Richie Kanal. His son, his daughter's a real baller, but his son, I think, is a senior there this year. So we had an absolute blast. And, I remember following him. My wife, before she got sick, worked as a sports marketer, and she was at the Olympics when Richie was in it. Like, I remember that. What kind of a school is this? Immaculate. My wife's saying, where they've got freaking Olympic athletes. And so it was amazing, but that was hard to believe, running into Richie Kana in Atlanta. And then we had breakfast together. Just a great guy. I think we're going to go back there next Christmas, as a matter of fact. But, you say the words, it's a small world, but it's almost like sometimes it's hard to believe when stuff like that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like I said, like you told me, like I said, I talked to him. Like I said last, I got to send you that one too. But it was just great even for him to take time out for little Ibn here to just kind of have a conversation. He's by far, and I told him he's the most decorated athlete, I think, in Immaculate. Just accomplishments, they speak for themselves here. But as far as even with yourself, I know, how was you and Coach Fest here? I mean, how many arguments you guys had behind the scenes?
we had a blast. It was, there were so many great parts about Coach Immaculate, but there were so many challenges. The fact that we had 2 baskets, so we would sit with each other after practice trying to figure out how to come up with drills where you literally have 2 baskets. So, and you have 3 teams, right? You have freshman, JV, and varsity. So you're trying to juggle practice time. But no, I loved Coach. I mean, Mike is a great guy, and he was perfect for Immaculate. He loved that school. There are some guys like him and Patty Dyer and Finn who just love that school, and just keep, when it was, because they were all sort of keeping me up to date on when, things were not looking great for the future for the school a couple of years ago. And, all of a sudden people just say, no, we're not going to let this school close, and I remember saying to Finn, Essex Catholic had 4,000 students at one point and they closed. So I mean, any high school can close, and the fact that Immaculate is still there, still grinding, is incredible. But it's because of guys like Mike and Finn and Patty Dyer. It's amazing.
It's a special place.
Yeah,
it's a special place. Now, the Coach Fest leaves, you decided to take on the head coaching gig here. How was that transition?
It was again. Here's what happened. I had moved at one point. I met my wife down in Chapel Hill. Well, she gets a job. She was doing her internship for her master's in sports administration at UNC. She gets a job in Manhattan, working for a international sports marketing firm. So we had been met in Chapel Hill. I come back up to Immaculate, and I had asked Mike, "Hey, you looking for an assistant again?" So I did, and then sure enough, he left it, and I took over for that 1 year. And what a blast it was. We were incredibly young. I think Omar was a freshman, Cheeseboro, and I think Gil Ross was only a sophomore. So we were extremely young, but we trapped and pressed. You could tell the first time I saw Gil run up and down a court that he was going to be an incredible athlete. When I get into college coaching, you learn how to evaluate kids pretty quickly. Watching them play in open gym during the summer. And you could see by the way he moved his feet, like this was going to be a different kind of guy. And he was only a sophomore, and he was tough to match up. And Omar was really good as a freshman. So we had a blast. That's when we were still in Glen, in the old Colonial Hills, and playing Glen Ridge and those guys. So, but that was a great year. And then, as you look back on your career, and I wished I had had the chance to coach those kids a couple more years, because it was Reggie Johnson was on that team. And I remember having to decide. I got the offer to go coach in college at UNC Estra with my friend who I'd coached with in Chapel Hill. And and my wife, of course, had just taken a job in the city. And she said, wait a minute, you want to move to Asheville, North Carolina? But, it was a really hard decision. Because I had loved that school so much. And again, that particular team, I knew they were going to be really good. But, you make decisions in your life, and you live with them. And I don't regret it, obviously, but I had a blast coaching that team as well.
Absolutely. Now, what's the lore with North Carolina? I mean, Jersey guy, went to junior college out in California. You come back to New Jersey. What's the lore with Carolina here?
Well, here's what happened. I originally came down to work at UNC at their basketball camp. I had met a guy, Randy Wheel, who then I coached with for 10 years. We became close friends, and he was an assistant for Dean Smith. So he asked me, he said, Coach Smith has a basketball camp every summer for a couple of weeks. So I started coming down to that. And then the opportunity to move down there and help him. Carolina still has a JV program. So that was what actually drew me down there in the first place, was to coach with him on that. And then it was funny, we were there for 2 years, and then he took the job up at Asheville. But then after Asheville is when we moved to Middle Tennessee State. So I spent most of my career at Middle, which is right outside Nashville. It's a great area. Both of my kids were born there. So we were out there for a while. And then, it's tough. You've known people in college coaching, and it's a business. I listened to Letitia last week. It's a business, and it grinds you up. You have to be really careful. And I had little kids, and you're spending 200 nights a year away from them, out recruiting and stuff. So at one point, my wife got a job back here in North Carolina, working for the Carolina Hurricanes hockey team. So, I said, it's been a lot of fun coaching in college, but, maybe it's time to, watch my kids grow up a little bit and, follow my wife for once. Mm-hmm. We came back here to Raleigh, and, it's an easy place to live. I still get back home a decent amount because all my family, right, is still up there in Jersey, obviously. But, it's a fun place to live. I was out at the beach today, like I said, and, but, I do miss, Jersey. And like I said, a couple of years ago, when we went up to New York in the tournament, we were there for 5 or 6 days. My family got to come see me coach. It was a blast. There's nothing like it. I look back, I went to St. Peter's Grammar School and then to Essex, and, I was Jersey through and through, Montclair State. Yeah. Life takes you, where it takes you, and you just go with the flow sometimes.
And going with the flow, I'm gonna throw you off a little bit here. Just I want a little truth to this here now. Did you do some comedy on the side? Is
Oh
that
my.
where the snake came in at?
There was a while in where, yes, I was making some money as a stand-up comedian. Yes, it was. This is when, there were actual comedy clubs like Rascals in West Orange. Uh, when, you could just go up there and, as usual, everybody sort of dares you to do it. And it was fun for a couple of years. I was doing okay, but
Mhm.
you look back, it's an insane way to make a living. But Rascals was a great place. I loved it. And I heard Letitia talk about Jimmy Buffs. I said, oh my gosh, I used to go right down there before I came up to Rascals and,
Mhm.
get myself a hot dog.
Yeah. Nah, so you didn't get that Hollywood break, huh?
No, 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 I didn't look hard enough, I don't think.
Okay.
But it's so funny. When I got out of Essex, I didn't like immediately think about coaching. You know what I mean? It's like I didn't jump. And one of the kicks I got out when I finally got into college coaching is that the majority of guys, played in college and then they went right into coaching. They were grad assistant and they worked their way up. And I didn't do that. And so I think all those years I bartended, while I was working at Immaculate.
Mhm.
I think that, made me maybe a little more well-rounded than those guys. I don't know, but it's definitely a click. It's sort of like NBA coaching. You see these guys retreaded over and over again. It's hard to break in. It really is both college and anywhere like that. It's hard. And now it's getting like high school. It's hard to break into high school coaching.
Mhm. No, absolutely. And I know your coaching style. I mean, did you study anybody, or you just went with the flow and it just morphed into his own thing?
For, as I said, probably for at least 7 years, I was down every summer and spent almost the whole summer in Chapel Hill. And I
Mhm.
remember, at that time, Carolina was the preeminent program in the world. And just, the time I spent in the JV, I was in the Smith Center, just being even exposed on the periphery to Dean Smith. And he was so funny. You know enough about college sports. I remember listening to Letitia where it's life or death. Like these coaches that say, I get to work at 6 a.m. Nobody's going to outwork us. We work 365 days a year. Dean Smith, who had the building named after him, would come into work at 9:30 in the morning. And like, it was never life or death. Like he had his practice plan for the season done in August. Like he could tell you what they're going to do. He said, we're going to be organized. We're going to do this when the other team does that. And we're going to be prepared for everything, but it's not life or death. And, when he got great players, like any coach, right? You get great players, you're going to win. Steve Kerr, right? What did he forget how to coach? It's like when you get really good players, if you're a good coach, you're going to be really, really good. So I took a lot of the stuff like the break that we used to run, right? Sort of that numbered break where you'd run up the left side and Auckland would run up the right side. That was right out of Carolina. By giving guys a destination, you run your butt up the left side of the floor and you get there. So when we pitch it ahead, you're ready to shoot. That's all him. Telling guys it's a free-flowing game, basketball, but you also got to have some structure. And that's what I learned from him. He was a master, at giving guys, whether they were Michael Jordan or, Jeff Lebo, giving them just the amount of structure they needed, and a little bit less for a guy like Jordan when you see a once in a lifetime talent, and a little bit more for other guys. So that was probably my biggest influence.
Interesting. You mentioned those guys. So when you was at these camps, I figured they would come down. Do they just fall in line as far as outside of? I mean, some of them probably moved on to the NBA, but when they came back, did they just fall in line as far as regarding Coach Smith? Like, kind of, I'm just that college student again, as far as just like helping them out or just being on, as far as at the camps or what have you.
Right. Well, it would be funny because still to this day with Roy Williams, they still have that camp. And I mean, when Michael Jordan, even after he retired, he would come back every summer and work at Coach Smith camp or Roy Williams camp. It's fascinating. There aren't any more programs like that. Duke sort of, but where guys have a connection. That when Coach Smith passed away a couple of years ago, it came out part of his will. Incredibly, like every Monday, he would spend 2 hours on the phone every Monday morning, and his secretary would have, here's the 10 players you're going to call. He would call his former players just to check in with them. And when he died,
What was the money thing? He left like a check?
He left $200 to every guy who ever played for him so they go out to a nice dinner with their wife. Like, who would do that, today? I mean, it's just that to him, that was more important than winning the national titles. The fact that Rasheed Wallace would come back there every summer and play pickup games in Woolen Gym with the campers. I mean, and it wasn't, there was a waiting list, of course. There were 700 kids a week we'd have at camp. There was a waiting list twice that long. So he wasn't doing it to get more kids coming to camp. He said, this is where I get my thrill, when the players come back, and like that's why it was such a thrill for me. When you guys reached out to me last year, and I got more from that than you did. I can guarantee you that. Like, and again, I learned that from Coach Smith. Like, he would get more from those players than they would. Like, you'd say, "Oh, I want my son to meet Dean Smith." Okay, that's not a big deal to him. But for a coach, for guys to still be hanging out like we are here after this much time, that's all I need. I told my wife that I don't need anything else. Like, I've been here for 8 years. But I still am in contact. Some of the guys, who I coach at Middle Tennessee State, we're still in contact. But the idea that you had an influence on somebody as a coach, the players had more influence on you. And I say that from the bottom of my heart, and that's not BS. That's totally legit.
No, that's good stuff. And I mean, I'll probably beg to differ, but we'll be arguing for a little while, so I won't do that. But speaking of sports, basketball, what have you here, what is sports giving you that stuck with you to this day?
It's the idea of bringing together a group of kids that may have disparate backgrounds. It is so many memories. I remember at Immaculate when Tyrone Mason was a freshman, and you'll get a kick out of this. We had a kid, and I remember his name, named Phil Porcelli, who was from Bloomfield. We were on our way back from a game at Mountain Lakes, I think, and I figured, I had a good night tip-wise at the bar the night before. I made a lot of money, so we're gonna stop at White Castle. For a post-game meal, nice and nutritious, and the one right on Pompton Avenue. We go in there, and Tyrone is behind me, and Phil's in front of me. And Phil turns to me and said, "Coach, this is amazing. This is the first time I've ever been in White Castle." Tyrone waits about 30 seconds, and he says, "Coach, sometimes I feel like, I don't have the greatest life, but man, Phil ain't never even been to White Castle."
Yeah,
taking those two guys in, and like a guy like you and a guy like Brian Mooney, where you take kids from different backgrounds,
Right.
You know, you're playing football, blah, 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 and then you suddenly turn basketball, and then there are other guys who play basketball. Taking that kind of a crew and meshing them together, that's why I coach. And I don't care if it was, you know, in Division I college or coaching the freshman team in Immaculate. For me, that was the thrill. And then, like I said, teaching kids that it's okay to be pushed. Like, you are capable of doing way more than you think you can. And some kids are very uncomfortable being pushed, as you know. But to show a kid that they have that much in them is such a thrill, you know, and seeing that light go off is one of the greatest joys of a coach.
Nah, good stuff. Good stuff. I was wondering if I could throw you on the spot for a second.
Come on, I'm ready.
Get back to Jersey, talk about family, what have you here. When you go, you take it the Parkway or the Turnpike?
I'm always a Parkway guy. Absolutely, yeah.
Jimmy Buff's the Star Tavern.
I knew you were going to go there. I'd have to go Star Tavern. Now, I haven't been in there probably in 6 or 7 years, but, you know, from Fess's Tory Corner down to the Star Tavern, that was almost like the Bermuda Triangle and then back home for me. But yeah, I'd have to go Star Tavern.
All right, after the St. Pat's parade, we going to Fess's or the Torn Hat?
Wow, out of just because of the jukebox, I think I'd go back to Fess's. You know, the Torn Hat was great, but yeah, it's tough to beat that jukebox.
Jukebox over there. Okay.
Fess's, yep.
Cardinal Gibbons or Immaculate?
Immaculate. Don't tell anybody I said that. You know, I love Cardinal Gibbons. The fascinating thing is, and I touched on this with you last year, there's only like 4 Catholic schools in the whole state.
Wow.
Like, yeah, we play in the public school league. Like, we play in 4A, which would be Group 4 in Jersey, and we're not that big. We have about 1,300, 1,400 students, but it's a totally different experience. Like, it's a Catholic school, but it's more of like a private Catholic school. You know what I mean? Like Immaculate, you know, to me, going to Essex, that was Catholic school.
Absolutely, absolutely. You slide drill or running the stairs?
You know, I was a stair guy, and you know, we still do it and dribble and basketball. Yeah, they got dribble basketballs. I know, sister, it used to drive her crazy when we would dribble basketballs, and the whole was their sister. We got 2 baskets and a stage at one end. So I mean, I'm not exactly loaded with drills here, but yeah, you know, the step slide, depending on what kind of mood I was in, you know, that could go south very quickly, as you know. But the stairs, I think, are the end all be all.
Best game you ever coached?
Wow. I would still say when my, and this is what it meant to me, when we beat St. Anthony's, when our freshman team, because that was the year that their varsity team had Rod Rhodes, Terry DeHare, Bobby Hurley, Jerry Walker, right? And they came into Cottage Place, you know, with that crew, and they were unbelievable. But you know, right before that, our freshman team, and we drilled them. And then we went back over and beat them again in the freaking Jersey City Armory. You know, that's where they played. We played them home and home. So I don't know. I just, that was such a thrill to me. You know, it was one of the first years I was coaching, but I do remember that one for a really long time.
Best team you ever coached?
You guys, no doubt about it. Now, team as in coming together. Okay.
However you want to frame it. Yeah, however you want to.
That's you guys, without a doubt. As I said, I don't I never had, guys who, as I said, I could occasionally encourage you a little harshly. And you guys were like, come on, because you understood that I wasn't doing it because I was being a jerk or I'm on a power trip, right? In that gym. No, of course not. I did it because I knew what you guys were capable of doing. And you guys seemed to thrive, and I remember like load management and stuff. You guys would play 30 minutes. You guys, maybe at the end of the quarter, I'd get your break, but that was it. I didn't have an assistant coach. So nobody was telling me, hey, Ibs played the whole game. All right, so what? But you guys, as I said, just understood that. And I told you that last year when you and Jakeem came down, and I told my wife that. I said, I've never been associated with a group of kids who were willing to put in that work. But a lot of kids are willing to put it into work, but they understood, how I wanted the game played. And like I said, I didn't have an assistant. It was just me, you guys, and 2 baskets. So I thought that was an incredibly memorable year for me.
Yeah, your stuff. I would have never known that, but thank you. I know. If you was this your era, your time, like in New Jersey, you could think about when you played, or even up to before you left for North Carolina here. Top 5 basketball high school players you've seen.
Well, when I was a senior at Essex, we played in Essex. We were 26-0, and East Orange was 27-0. And we played in the ECT championship at Walsh Gym, at Seton Hall. And it was one of as a player, I didn't play, but it was one of, just sitting on the bench, it was the greatest atmosphere. Like, I can remember running layup lines before the game, landing, and the cheerleaders were on the baseline. And it was an incredible atmosphere. But, I remember a guy like Dave Brown, who I played with, who went on to play at Iona. But East Orange had Mike Booker, who was just a great, I heard you guys talk about, was it Mike Boyd?
Mike Boyd, yes.
He played like that. Mike Booker was unbelievable. They had a 6'8" kid named Melvin Hall. As far as the best player, I played against Michael Corrin, went to Catholic. He and Spinarco played in the same team. Here's how good we were. I'll blow our horn a little bit in. When I was a senior, we beat Hudson Catholic 3 times like a drum. And they had Spinarco and O'Corn. O'Corn was a junior, and Spinarco was a senior. They were in our conference. We beat them 3 times. But I remember that. I remember Kelly Chapuka, who was at Bloomfield when I was at Essex. A kid named Edgar Jones from Barringer, who ended up playing the NBA. Like, I remember they made a run in the ECT, and then Cecil Stinson from Montclair, unbelievable player. But it's just there's so many memories of great players. Here's again, it's hard to believe. One of my assistant coaches here at Carnegie Gibbons in Raleigh played at Roselle Catholic the same year I was at Essex Catholic. We met, he was a retired businessman a couple of years ago. We're at a team camp in Guilford, North Carolina, and he's walking into the gym in the middle of June at 10 a.m. wearing a Seton Hall Pirates golf shirt. What is this guy? And sure enough, we hit it off. And he was on Roselle Catholic the year that we played them in the state tournament, and they had a kid named Ricky Gomez. It was there's been so many great players. Like I wish I was up there now, Ib, because from afar, you look at schools like St. Benedict's and even St. Anthony's. I hesitate to say this, where, those kids just didn't happen to go to school there. Like, what I loved about Immaculate, it was a parish school. Like we weren't shipping you guys in, you know what I mean? You know, and now it just seems like these things are factories, you know, like these Hudson Catholic. You know, I remember when we played them, like Spinarkle and Corn grew up right around the corner from Hudson Catholic. Now these guys are coming across from the city and stuff. I know I sound like a cranky old man, but you know, when I look back on the heyday, you know, your time and a little bit before, it was kids who were born and raised there. You know, if Earl Williams went to Central and Newark, that's because he was from there. You know, even Essex was mostly Newark kids and, you know, Belleville kids. But, you know, it was such a different time, you know, not that it's any better or any worse, but it was certainly a different time.
Good stuff. Now, speaking of Belleville,
Yeah.
Bronx Tale or Goodfellas?
I would say Goodfellas. I'm, you know, for an Irish guy, I think I know my way around Italian restaurant menus. But Goodfellas, that's a tough spot.
Reason I asked, who's the famous actor from Belleville?
Famous actor from Belleville.
In those those two movies.
Not Joe Pesci, is it?
Bingo.
Oh my goodness. I knew he was from Jersey.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Bingo. What this Coach Ryan, what advice would you give a young Coach Ryan getting into coaching? What advice would you give him?
I would say just be true to what you believe in. The challenge as a coach is if I were getting into it today, be true to what you believe in, despite what you're going to hear from parents, from players themselves. That if you have a plan, don't like blow in the wind. You know, you stick to your ideals and what you believe in, and they'll have to deal with it. You know, this idea that Steve Nash is over there in Brooklyn with, you know, 4 assistant coaches, Kyrie and, you know, James Harden, they all make a coaching team. You know, God bless them. But I think, you know, you have to stand for something. And as a coach, I think as long as your players know that and you're true to those ideals, I think you'll be fine. But that would be my advice right now.
Good stuff. My other advice is,
Oh my.
I was wondering, would you mind saying hello to a couple of people?
Oh my. Jay, how you doing, man?
What's up, Coach?
Brian, you know, Brian, I asked him about you last year when he came down, when these guys came down. I said, how is Brian Mooney doing?
Well, thanks, Coach. Yeah, I know I missed out on that one, but it's a pleasure to see you. Doing well. Everything's good for me.
Yeah.
The guys filled me in a little bit about, you know, seeing you and catching up. And I looked you up a little bit on, you know, the teams you've been coaching and some of your interviews down there at the school. So I'm glad you're still doing well. It's good to see you.
You know, it is fun. I still get a thrill out of it. You know, it drives my wife crazy that, you know, it's time to start retiring. She sees me ranting and raving on the sideline. I said, what else am I going to do? You know, this is what's fun for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Dax, how are you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Coach Ryan?
Oh, it's great to see you. Goodness. You know, again, when Jakeem was on last week, your name came up. That was incredible. And Jay.
Coach.
I miss you.
I'm just chasing a little 6-year-old around here. That's it. So yeah, it was. But other than that, man, everything's going good. Business is okay. Life is okay.
Yep.
And
I was upset you guys could, you know, and Brian and Dex, the game these guys came to, of course, what are going to double overtime?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm out there with a freshman point guard, and I got Jason Allen, you know, one of the greatest point guards I've ever coached in my life. And my freshman point guard was pissing the game away, and I'm saying, "Oh my God."
How's he doing? How's that kid doing? I think he's really good.
You know, we had the COVID delay here this year, but he was our leading scorer this year. and it was him, and I basically had all sophomores this year. So
Okay.
it was a lot of fun. But he's, with the summer,
Hmm.
where he can go away to camp and stuff, he's going to be a handful. He's gotten a little bigger and stronger.
Right.
So, I'm at least going to hang around till he's a senior. That's what I told my wife. But went over like a fart in church, as you can imagine, with my wife. Now that she's retired, she's like, when are you going to get out of this?
Now I got these guys on. I just want to ask them though, if they wouldn't mind, if they can even remember one of your favorite Coach Ryan moments.
Oh man.
Oh,
Where's Jakeem, man? He's the computer guy. He's supposed to be. Where's his? Jakeem, where you at, man?
This is what I look at as a teacher every day.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, I'll just say this. As I was waiting to come on, I was reminiscing mentally a little bit, and I'm sure the guys got an opportunity to speak to you a little bit when they were down there. But just me reminiscing, about the small things in life lessons. But some of your catchphrases of, don't pitch, dribble, and throw the ball to your own team and run like hell. But I also remember one of your things was, control the things you can control. So I still use that with my kids. I use it with work and when things get a little crazy. So just, for a bunch of sophomores, under your tutelage, we worked like hell because we loved it. We bought into it.
Yeah.
So that style, I thought, I did a little coaching, as I got a little older before I became a police officer, I loved it. And I mimicked that because it was effective and it really got the young guys to buy in. And I think, as we went through life, whether we know it or not, some of those little catchphrases and thoughts, make us better people, better fathers, all the above.
Brian, it's amazing. I look back and we were just talking about it, the fact that we had 2 baskets in the whole building, right? The school I'm at now, we have 12. We have 2 full Mac Daddy gyms. And that was controlling what you can control. I said, we're not going to be a good free throw shooting team. I can scream at these guys all I want. We can't practice free throws because there's nothing else you can do at that time. We didn't even have like one of those portable ones you put in your driveway. So, you can't control that. So you let it go. You can't control the refs. No, that's a great life lesson.
Yeah, definitely true.
Crazy call, ref. Crazy call.
And that was my cousin. My cousin Mark was that. We were just talking a couple weeks ago. He was one of the worst refs, and he was the one who said, "You think that one's bad? Wait till you see the next one." And we called him Hamlet because he'd blow the whistle and then take 5 seconds, and then he'll point the other way. Just make up your mind quickly. But you can't control that. You're right, Brian.
I got one, Coach.
Yeah.
For me, it was the like Brian's saying, some of these things just tie into how you live your life and you deal with things. The biggest thing, I think, the biggest takeaway for me was patting your chest. And I remember you saying, "Look, you could throw a guy a perfect pass that he could have caught, that he should have caught. The ball goes out of bounds. Tap your chest and say, 'My bad.'" And that allows you to get beyond that moment. And it makes it what you're saying is basically, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. We're a team, we work together, and when you mess up, I mess up. So when the team is doing bad, it gives you this sense of team, and that everybody is a part of it. And that was a big takeaway for me, because it doesn't matter, okay, yeah, you should have caught it, but and everyone in the gym sees that you should have caught it, probably except the refs. But everybody sees that you should have caught it, but that's not what's important. And you don't move on. And you watch a lot of TV and you watch a lot of sports and see guys like professionals, frowning up and scowling there. There he is. There's the IT guy. But you see a lot of people just scowling and not carrying that on, and you see the effects of that. So I use that. I try my best to use it. See, it don't really matter whose fault it is. The fact that, like, okay, let's get past it and let's move on to the next play.
Jay, I was just telling our point guard, Micah, that a couple weeks ago, and because he's totally expressionless. And I said, you can say, well, the quarterback in football, he throws a pass, hits a receiver, he gets the incomplete pass, right? Who cares? Like you said, it's so important. I've already decided whose fault it was, right? I knew it was Ibn's fault. You hit him in the hands with the best pass in the world. It dropped to his feet and rolled out of bounds. It doesn't matter. But what matters is the next time you get beat on defense, he's got to slide over and help you.
Right.
And if you were going like, because I tell these kids that nowadays, you're going to need that teammate to bail you out.
Yep.
So say my fault.
Yeah.
Just say it. It's the best 2 words in the English language, because now Ib says, I'm going to bust my butt
Yep.
to make Jay look good. And you're right. That's a great lesson. And I'm still trying to teach it. And it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, because kids just think, well, I'm not pouting. I'm not making faces. Yeah, but you're not doing anything positive.
Right.
And it feels miserable. Of course he feels horrible.
Yeah. And I think also just the fact that you can move on.
Right.
And I have a 14-year-old, and he's a baseball fanatic.
Yep.
And for him, you know, he would have it to where he you know would you know, kid would just drop the ball, of, you know, shortstop ball go through his legs, and he's on the mound and he's huffing and puffing, and then like the play's still going, so you're missing, you know, this guy's rounding second. Like, well, if you had your head up instead of, you know, frowning, you could have got him out at third. So it's just like you got to stop that, nip it in the bud right there, and keep moving, because the game's continuing.
Oh, it's a hard lesson to learn. You're right. Because and especially basketball, you know this, the game flies.
Yeah.
Like if you're pissed off about him and dropping a pick, guess what? The game's down the other end of the floor now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Jay, what's going on?
What up?
Coach
What
Ryan,
up?
how you doing?
How we doing, 22?
I know that's right.
Oh my goodness, it's great to see you.
How's everything? How y'all
Man.
doing today?
You know,
You look good, man. You look just like when we was just there the other day.
The world dropped. The world fell apart when we left, but you know.
I know, you're exactly right. Like it was right after that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we didn't even finish the season last year.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You know, we won our first conference tournament game. Boom. Then we didn't, so we ended the season on a win, but you know, we literally were told in the morning that the game was canceled.
Wow.
And then, you know, probably up there the same thing. And then the season got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but first it was, well, let's see what happens. Well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were at school for a long time.
Yeah, I don't even think my niece, because my niece plays basketball at Immaculate for Immaculate Girls. And I don't even think they had a season last year.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even think they had a season last year. I know they was trying to do AAU, but that was very limited.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but now it's a different story.
Yeah.
Because I know we back in the gym every day. So
Now, is Immaculate back in school right now?
yeah,
Okay.
they do full-time in person.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, all the parochial schools around here pretty much the same. Because my son go to a parochial school up here, and he's full-time in person.
Really?
Yeah, we have our bumps, you know, but for the most part, nah.
Yeah, we've been back down here all year, but we go half, and like we bring half the kids one day, half the kids the next. But
Well, it's less than 500 kids in my son's school, so that has a lot to do with it.
yeah,
You know, so it's a blessing. So it's cool.
Nah, cool.
man, that's
I
great.
was asking Jakeem, I was just asking favorite Coach Ryan moments. See what Dax had on his plate. We just asked.
Dax
Oh.
on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Dax on.
Oh,
There you
Dax, what's the deal, partner? How you doing?
Oh, surviving, man. How are you?
Oh, there you go. There you go. There go that smile. You always smiling, yo. Where you at work? You in the office?
Yeah, I'm at work today.
Taking a break from lifting trucks.
Goodness gracious.
No, well, I remember I had 3 boys, so I was always trying to tell them the significance of making 3 throws, and I remember you know, the 24 seconds on the clock that we had to get our suicides done. You know, how many misses we had in the game, that's how many suicides we had to run.
Mhm.
I mean, when it comes down to you know, the difference in a loss, it always ends up being free throws. So always try to tell my kids that, try and make sure you can make your free throws, because that's always going to be the difference.
My favorite Coach Ryan moment.
Uh-oh.
It got to be congratulating the pass. Everybody getting up, congratulating the passer.
Yep.
Thank the passer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, huge, and slapping the floor when you go back on defense.
And let me tell you something. Now, like, our guys still do it, but when they stand up, refs now like tell them to sit down. Like, they're so unused to seeing guys clap for a good play that every single time they do it, the ref comes over and tells them to sit down. And I start bitching at the ref, because is this what you're worried about? Guys, they're not yelling at you. They're not calling you a bum. They're cheering for their teammates, and you're telling them to sit down. There's got to be something else you can be looking at right now. These toxic guys on my bench.
You was way ahead of the game back then, because Monmouth, I think it's Monmouth here. They was on ESPN because of the antics they do.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
King Rice was their coach. Yeah, he's Carolina.
Yeah. So you was way ahead of the game back then. Now they haven't played.
They're all chasing it. You're right.
True. Looking back, like the things we were doing,
Mooney
doing that.
Mooney.
Nobody else, we played, with Essex, a couple teams. We saw some different schools, but our conference teams we played, nobody had the aggression, the loudness, the flaunt that we had. And like, we loved it. When we took that loss up in Chatham and then they came down, it spurns us. We hung 61 of them in the first half. It was because like we were going to keep going. We couldn't stop. I know you probably got some earful, some Patty Dyer, and I remember you telling us, but we were like, we would have kept going until we couldn't, we ran that scoreboard up as much as we could.
Yep.
We were loving it. And then, just some of the tenaciousness, like I said, no garbage time. Like, I remember you used to say, there's no such thing as garbage time. If I put you in there with 40 seconds to go in the game, you better represent the school or I'm pulling you out.
Yep.
And, all those little things that other teams didn't have those philosophies.
Right.
We had them, and we really, it was great.
Oh, yeah.
Brian, if I
Mooney,
can,
nice to see you, Brian.
Yeah, good
Brian, if I can piggyback off
always
that.
a pleasure.
Word. I haven't seen you in forever, man. Nice to see you, man. Word. Definitely. I got to get your information so I can text you.
You got that right.
That's right. All right.
Brian, if I could piggyback off that, though, that I think you mentioned earlier, like just kind of buying into it. And that kind of like, looking at us probably from the bleachers, we probably look crazy, slapping the floor and sliding and doing all of that shit. Like, but we didn't care because we were a unit. And I think that allowed us to be, the yelling and the screaming. Like, you watch games now and everybody's so quiet. And just the yelling and the screaming, or even like swipe your hand up instead of down. Refs don't call it when you swipe up. They call it when you swipe down. And that kind of just small little pointers that we were able to kind of take away. And even like, I remember scoring 100, and like, I know you caught heat for that.
Yeah.
But the reason for that was, and was so that when they see you again, they know they've already lost when they come in the gym. They don't want to see you again. And that relentlessness, that tenacity was enough you take that away, and it allows you to, if you're good, you bring that with you into life. So you don't let up, because like you said, B, there's no garbage time. Like every every second of this game matters.
It's just like at a job, that. You need to be relentless. The moment you start taking time off mentally, you're gone. You can't just click and get it back. There's no faucet. You try and tell kids that now, where they have so much else going on. Like, what did you guys have away from the court? You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have that much going on where, you had to get on TikTok or you didn't have that. Yeah. And so to focus on one thing when you're doing it is an incredibly valuable thing. And like I used to say, okay, if you're going to let up when you're up 15, then okay, when are you going to let up? When you're up 10? Then all of a sudden it's 8, and then it's 6. You got to make too many decisions, like keep going with your foot on the gas until the game's over. And then you don't have to start thinking about, should I do this or should I do that? Because at some point, you know, it's going to come back to bite you.
Now I know mine is kind of more on the, comical side as
Right.
far as remember the name Greg? Remember Greg Roberts?
Greg Roberts.
Yeah.
So apparently you read in the newspaper again. I'm sure you obviously took a peek, but Greg happened to be shooting free throws in practice. He shoots an air ball. You clearly had the paper up, and you told him go home.
Yeah.
Greg, go home. Oh,
He can hit the rim with the lights out.
It was a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon.
Even through the Star Ledger. Yeah. Even through the Ledger sports section.
Yeah. Or
That's the saddest sound in basketball.
or I don't know if you remember you took a dive. Again, we don't know if you were
oh
serious
yeah,
or
yeah,
not.
yeah.
But actually, Rod Brown,
Yeah.
you was defended Rod Brown on the drill.
No,
or what
we
happened.
gotta start. We gotta start at the beginning because Dax was guarding him at first.
No, go ahead, because I probably don't have it right.
All right, so we're doing a one-on-one drill. We're down at the basket, not the stage, the basket when you walk in. And Dax is guarding Rod Brown. So he's going by him. Rod was quick. He's going by Dax, and you're like, man, Rod can't be that quick. Like, and you told Dax to move, and so you got in and you defended him, and now he went by you. He made him fall, right?
It's me.
and then you felt you got up and you said, well, damn, maybe he is that fast.
Maybe it is that hard to guard.
Yeah. So
Now I got some more. Just even the halftime conversations or after the game, but I go to halftime, and again, we was catching you on the early days here. You know, I know the wife sees this, she's probably gonna be like, I don't know this Jim Ryan. You know, but as far as even with the soda cans, I mean, you had like a hell of an aim. As far as with these soda cans, but you started off very calm. That was kind of your thing. It was kind of you build up. You would build up. And next thing you know, something getting thrown or whatever the case may be here. So, but I also would say, and I said it before, even everybody jumped on, like, and I think these guys can attest, like, we would have ran through a wall for you.
Word is ball.
As far as just with anything, as far as just your coaching style and just kind of like just the connection and everything. Again, I know it was the JV level, whatever. That didn't make a difference. Like I said, would have ran through a wall, and I think to some of the things you made things simple. As much as coaches try to get complicated with the X's and O's, it was so simplistic, as Brian alluded to with some of the stuff even he mentioned. It was just so simple. I mean, and I think in life, it kind of parallels with life. Like, we try to make things so damn complicated when it's simple. When it's very simple, I mean, and you made that for us, like, as far as things just simple. I mean, we still apply some of these rules, things. Brian talked about the run like hell. Don't throw the ball to the other color jersey. How simple is that? You tired, I'll give you a break. Put your thumb up. Put your thumb up or your fist up. Yeah, I'll put you back in, but if you're doing what you need to do, like, you take that break, but you get back in. Things that we can just apply to everyday life here. I don't want to speak for the guys, but that's just some of the stuff.
Well, listen, I told it before you guys got on that you guys taught me, and I swear to you, I was talking to my wife this morning about the fact we were going to be Zooming. You guys taught me as much, if not more, than I might have taught you. Like the dedication and the work ethic that you guys showed, never complaining about the facilities or going up to mountain lakes or, goodness gracious, I going down to the Newark Y and playing games. Changing in the locker room like with guys who are going to a freaking sauna or something. Nothing.
Remember that. I remember that.
Remember? Like, that ain't gonna work. I'm drawing something on the wall. All of a sudden I hear someone, Coach, that ain't gonna work. What you talking about? I'm saying, who the hell said that? I'm out with a towel around his waist. Saying, this is the real world, baby.
But those, even
sincerely,
being able to break through and communicate to us in that consistentness, you know what I mean? That was, I think, just had a lot to do with building us as men. You know what I mean? And it had all of us, we live close to each other. So we also dealt with each other outside of school. You know, so that had a lot to do with that whole cohesiveness as well. I'm sorry, but yeah, a lot of great memories came back. Dylan and seeing everybody.
Coach Ryan, do you remember on the sideline you're speaking about North? Remember Art? Excuse me, Arts. It was Arts. Remember 5, 2, 3, 2, 1. The stands come on the floor and they want to fight. Yeah.
Yo, everybody disappeared in the stands. It was like 5, 15 seconds left. It wasn't nobody in the stands. Soon as the bell rung, so it was just a crowd of people. Everybody came back.
I'm sitting there next to Brian. I'm standing next to Brian. And me and Brian are looking at each other like, what the hell? What happened?
But what just coaches, happened? That's got to be
the locker room going, what was that?
As coaches, that's got to be like, what do I do right now?
I didn't know what to do. I'll be honest.
Right, and like I was saying before, I'm not like one of these coaches. They had 8 assistants and 2 director of basketball operations. It was me. Maybe Finn drove the bus. Maybe.
Right.
And they're throwing
Oh, those was great times, yo.
That conference, during my time there, we went from playing Mendham and freaking Burners down to science and arts. And what is the state? Can the state decide where we're going to go? You know?
Yeah.
Haley Ellard and Chatham, and then we're goodness gracious. We played them all. Bring them on.
Yeah.
But when we played St. Anthony's, I said, bring them over here. I don't give a crap.
Now you made, like I said, you made things simple, even with the plays. Like, like out of bounds plays, and you just make things very simple.
Just execute.
That's just how I try to apply it to my life. Just make things simple. Like, let's not overthink things,
Right. Understand what you do well and just keep doing it. That's it. Execute and keep things really simple, and you'll go good. I tell my kids that you'll go really far in life.
Yeah. I mean, St. Anthony's, you mentioned, you alluded to them, you were right. I mean, in a normal, we were playing some Morris County teams, and we played arts, but it would have been easy to be very intimidated. But we were up for the challenge, and we were not intimidated whether we played them in the Immaculate Gym or down in the Armory. I remember the first game, I think in the JV level, we came with, I think it was a 107 or 103, you wrote on the wall, when I think we finally got a little foul trouble, but we battled them, up and down the floor, because there was no intimidation factor where, looking back, that would have probably been an easy one of those games where, you probably would be in over your head, but we didn't feel that way, No,
and that's what I loved about you guys. And I told you, that's what I loved about that school, that, nobody ever gave a crap, there's 60 or 70 boys in the entire school, so what the heck, you're playing football on Thanksgiving, and then the next morning basketball begins. Okay, that's fine. Should we give them a weekend off? No. Friday morning, get out of here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach Ryan, go do that loose ball drill. Where
which one?
The one where you split everybody up and you roll the ball.
Roll it out? Oh, yeah. Yep. Listen, separate the men from the boys. I was so pissed off 2 years ago that's how we decided our starters for a game. That's it. You 5 guys, this 5 guys. Whoever 5 guys win this competition, you're starting.
Wow.
So some of those drills you still do to this day, or?
Yes. Yep.
Taking charges.
Yep. Well, it's not comfortable taking charges, but if you do it,
makes it easy.
It does. And then the other team is all screwed up. It's like when the year that, Hurley came over, and, we're taking charges against Rod Rhodes, and he's yelling, "Oh, this kid's an All-American." Well, he shouldn't be driving to the basket if he's worried about running somebody over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness. I mean, that's, I don't know. You
Even
don't
to
see
this, even to this day, when you see them coaching on TV, I tell my kids, I played against them.
Yep.
We gave them hell.
Yep.
Even when we played them,
Yep.
like you said, it wasn't no intimidation. I
Nope.
think they was more intimidated of us,
Yeah.
not backing down
Yeah.
than if anything in the world. Even when they was giving it to us, you were
Yep.
still screaming and us being scrappy.
Mhm.
I appreciated all of that because
And
that
those-
built me into who I am today.
And you carry that skill for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
There's nothing else that can compare to it. That crucible, you know what I mean? Of being in, I even tell guys today, you're in the freaking arena. The haters are out there, but you are out there laying it on the line while your buddies are home, playing Call of Duty and making TikTok. You are out there putting it on the line in front of people who care about it. You know what I mean? Whether that's your parents, your girlfriend, that's it. You were out there doing it and not sitting up in a stand saying, "Oh, I could do that." Well, do it. That's why I admire you guys. That you were out there and you didn't give a crap.
Now,
Yeah.
with the whole social media world, how is it now for you? Do you just get emails from parents about playing time and they won't talk to you?
If I tend to be as direct as I ever was when it comes to parents. I said, this is going to be a frank discussion. Like if you come in first, your son has to come in, right? So if somebody, from Brian Mooney's family okay, Brian's got to come talk to me first. Well, he's afraid to come talk to you about playing time. And I'm supposed to put him out there on a Friday night in front of 500 people?
Yeah.
He's afraid to come into my classroom after school? Parents always say that, and they say, "Oh, gosh, I guess I should." Well, of course not. He's afraid to come and talk to you, coach. Oh, okay, fine. I'll put him out there then, in front of 500 people. So, but you know what I say? And I always say this, I say basketball is a zero-sum game, right? There's 5 positions, 32 minutes, that's 160 minutes. If you're going to tell me, if Dax is going to say I should be playing 10 minutes a game more, well, you're telling me that Jay should play 10 fewer minutes. It's not like football where your son might be a wide receiver. He can be put in for one play. It's a running play, go down 10 yards and try and get in this. That's it. Oh, my son got in the game. In basketball, if I put you out there, you may be out there for 2 minutes and you may have to shoot the ball, dribble the ball, play defense on the ball, play help defense. You have to do it all. And plus you're taking someone else's minutes, so if I take Dax out, I'm putting somebody else in. Dax is losing that time. So I ask players that. If Brian came to see me, today, I would say, okay, who should come off the floor to put you out there? And then they don't want to say it,
Yeah.
Things like that never change, But it's like my brother McNamara, who coached me at Essex, used to say, I have an open door policy, but just be prepared because I'm not a real good listener.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful when you,
Thank you again. I think and again I know
That's
the guys
tremendous.
can speak for themselves, but we really, like I say, even to this day, you come up all the time, as far as conversations or just quotes or just memories or what have you. And I mean, this we talking 30 plus years later now. That's crazy, and I think just even to say that to want to be alive and even to talk about it. But we thank you. Just again, obviously you had a you know, a bunch of coaches at Immaculate here. I mean, all of them, you know, in their own little way, you know, I meant a lot to us here, but we really.
Well, listen, I to say I love you guys would be an understatement, and I'm going to hopefully, you know, the COVID will clear up this summer. I'm going to be up, and we're going to have to get together. Now, whether that's at the Star Tavern or Jimmy Buff's, I'm going to leave that to him. But we're going to have to get together because I'll be coming up, and I'm going to circle this. Like we have to get together and just you know, hang out for a little while because this has been tremendous. I really appreciate the rest of you guys jumping on that. I realize Sunday night is tough.
Nah. Thank you, Coach Ryan, and guys. Thank you guys again for sneaking on here. I know I had to flag them down, but as soon as I mentioned it, they didn't bat an eye.
Coach, I still use fatigue makes cowards of us all too.
Come on, this side.
Fatigue makes cowards of us all.
Yeah,
Vince Lombardi.
that's
Vince
my
Lombardi.
coach. Say hi.
Lombardi said that. You've had a Winston Churchill quote that I can't remember, but you used to always say a Winston Churchill quote too. While we were, you say this when we were running from the basement to the third floor.
Oh, the stairs. Him and I were talking about that before. Sister hated that.
Oh yeah. We were like the human air conditioning system there.
That was it. I don't know why she was complaining. We kept the place cool. Goodness gracious.
How often did you really get pulled into Mr. Dyer's sister's office? Is it?
I'm sure it was constantly,
basis?
consistently.
Quite often. Quite often. And you know, every time he supported me. You know, sister, when you know, whether it was coaching the freshman or JV or the varsity, when there would be an issue. And sister would want to see me. Patty would always support me, you know, and that's what I let. And then when Finn took over, he did the same thing. You know, I think they realized what a challenge it was coaching there. And, you know, he knew that I had what was best for you guys. That was always at the front of my mind, you know, and I always felt supported. I don't, you know, that's why it was such a special place that, you know, no matter what happened, they had your back. And whether it was Mike or John Finn or, you know, Patty Dyer, I love those guys.
Yeah, but we also responded as well.
That was it.
You know, we also responded. So, I mean, even if they did, but look, they still respond to everything that I do. Look, they come back every day. You don't see anybody complaining.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I know.
That's what I would tell sister. You know, I said, listen, if the guys come to me, you know, I mean, I'm not like some wild raving lunatic. If the guys come to me and say, hey, can we do something different? We'll do it, you know. But you're right. You came back every single day, hungrier than you were the day before, you know.
Please, you see a lot of the coaches now. You was ahead of your time, acting the same way.
Yep.
You know, to motivate their kids.
Yep.
And a lot of one and dones be wanting that.
They do. And I think the other thing that I learned at Immaculate was you need to coach every kid a little bit differently. Like, you know, you had 5 different backgrounds. You know, you brought 5 different set of bags to practice with you every day. It's like, that's what you learn in college, that these are kids from all over the country, kids who might have not grown up with any family life, playing on the same team with kids whose families were it didn't matter. But you can't treat every single kid the same. You have to appreciate that. And that's a hard thing to do. You know, that, you know, sure, there's one set of rules, but you gotta realize that every kid that walks in that gym is different. So that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Word, thank you.
Guys.
Yeah.
Thank
Coach
you.
Ryan?
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Ibn. This is great. It's good therapy. It's great seeing you. I'm glad you're doing well. And I look forward to getting together when you.
No, it will be. I'll be up this summer. I told him, and we're gonna all get together.
Sounds good.
Good stuff, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
All right, fellas.
All right.
Hey,
I love you guys.
I'll see y'all soon.
You too.
Take care.
Love you, Coach.
Hakeem, I'll reach out, buddy.
Hey,
Let me
please
know.
do, man. I would like to see you.
I
Yeah,
will.
I got your number. I'm gonna text you now.
He lying.
Please do. All right.
No,
Lay on, big.
All right, take care, everybody.
later.
All right, man.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff, Coach Ryan, man. It was cool to catch up with the guys for a quick minute. Couple little stories, comments, what have you here, man. That's just how it goes down, man. Official thanks, Essex County, all day / immaculate. I guess that's what it is, man. So the next go around, put my hand over my heart. That means I feel you. Yeah.